We're going to get to that Cowboys Buccaneers game in just a moment. But first, it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, services and memorials all across the country. Shannon, you'd like to share what MLK Jr. Day means to you.
Well, there's not very many days, it's not very often that I don't see a quote, whether I'm on social media or I Google it or something, and think about the sacrifices that this man made. The contingent of the civil rights movement, although he wasn't the only one, he was a large part of the contingent of what they were fighting for. And to think about what he went through, the beating over the head, the hoses turned on him, the dogs, he got stabbed. Ultimately, he paid the ultimate price. He lost his life. I think if Dr. King was alive, he would be, I think he would be, it would probably scale, he would probably be happy and sad. He said, yeah, I see the progress from where we originally started, but we haven't taken the steps and we haven't gone as far as I'd hope we'd go by now. And so I want to thank him, his wife, Bernice, who I've talked to before, and I know she watches the show. I want to thank you for the sacrifice that your family has given for us, the people of color, and any people that felt that their voices were not heard. And I wanted to say thank you from the FS1 family and from my family to yours. Thank you for the sacrifice that your father gave, the ultimate sacrifice, which was his life for a better way of life.
That was beautifully said. I have said on this day several times in the past, and you can tell me I'm exaggerating if you must, but I believe that Dr. King had as much impact on this country, on the psyche of this country, as George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or John F. Kennedy or any president has ever had on these United States.
Yes.
Because he was such a powerful and fearless orator and speaker.
Maybe the greatest orator.
I don't know a better one. But yet, if you listened, he was so reasonable and rational and merciful, and in the end, just so brilliantly convincing that I believe he was the first to start any thought of any race relations in this country. He started the conversation that had never been started before. And I can only speak from my side of the table on this. I do believe he opened a lot of white people's eyes to what your community, your race had been put through in this country, and that obviously at that point was still going through in the late 60s.
Yes, because they were in the heart of Jim Crow.
And a narrative, a conversation began because of Dr. King. And people actually had to sit back and think, man, I never thought of that or that or that.
Right.
Because even I was just a little kid at that, well, not a kid, I was a high school kid, but it got me because then obviously he gave his life for his cause.
Yes.
And he'd taken enough abuse already, let alone that.
He'd been stabbed, almost lost his life. He'd been beaten over the head. How many times he had gone to jail? Skip, you said something that you believe that he's had the greatest, if not the greatest relationship, the greatest impact on America. But it was only after his death. Nobody thought that, Skip. He was the most despised man. Every single year when they had the polls, he was the most despised man in America. It wasn't until after his death. And a lot of times people equate, turn the other cheek and do this, Dr. King, and they say this. But you never thought that when he was alive.
No.
You never quoted Dr. King never got quoted when he was alive. There was no T-shirts with Dr. King on the cover of them when he was alive. It was only after his death that he, kind of like Muhammad Ali, Skip.
I was just going to bring up Ali. Thank you. It's the same way.
Nobody thought of Muhammad Ali like he was despised. How dare you not? Everybody else got to go. Even there were some blacks.
There were.
That Dr. King was the same way.
Yeah, so Ali was a conscientious objector to Vietnam.
Yes, but Dr. King, Skip, the way he could, the cadence of his voice, and I'm a student of when people speak.
Yep.
The cadence in which he spoke, the rhythmic approach that he took, the way he could elevate his voice and let it drop, and you could hear and you hung on every single word that he said. The letter from a Birmingham jail, if you read it, the speech on Washington, if you heard it, that night before he ultimately lost his life, if you just listen, if you could just close your eyes and listen to the rhythmic, he's almost like a fine musician or a drummer, just beating the drum, and his voice carries that kind of weight and that kind of passion. It's an unbelievable If you love anything, if you have love music, if you love, acting, just listen to Dr. King, one of his speeches, and close your eyes and just hear the rhythmic approach of his voice. It's unbelievable. And I listened to Churchill speak. I've heard JFK speak. Nothing like this kid. Excuse me, not a kid, but nothing like this man. The way his voice just grabs you and it just holds you and you just got to hear. Just keep going, Dr. King.
I have a dream.
I have a dream speech.
So to your final point, we've come a long way from April the 4th, 1968, the day that he gave his life for his cause. But we have a long, long, long way to go, which is why we celebrate this day and we sit back, I hope, and remind each other that we do have a long way to go. And I do love how we celebrate it. I know we opened the show talking about this, but I love the way this day and the celebration gets enhanced by a full slate of NBA games. It's really, it feels...
NFL got involved. They said,
That's what I said, but this is the first time ever. We've never had a Monday night NFL playoff game that caps off MLK Day, and it just makes it even more special to me.
And it's ironic, Skip. One of the last states to declare Dr. King a national holiday was Arizona, where the Super Bowl is being played. And the NFL said, we're not bringing the game there until you do it.
And?
It's amazing what they will, to get the Super Bowl and make some money. It's amazing what people will do, Skip.
Thank you. Bingo.
Very well said, gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this extremely important holiday. All right, Skip, speaking of that NFL game you just brought up.
I'm taking them rotten, stinking Cowboys.
Are you really?
Skip, because I've been saying this for like week 9, week 10 on, when I knew there was no chance the Cowboys are catching the Eagles. I said the best spot for them, Skip, was to be in the 5 seed because they're going to play the 4 seed, which is going to be Tampa or Carolina, that's a terrible division. I said, you can't get any better than that. Yeah, I know you're going to have to take your show on the road, but you're playing against a team that you should beat. And I understand that Skip, and I've always liked being a team, that if I played a team earlier in the year and we lost, I always felt comfortable because I know we was going to make changes. Because the other team, you won, what type of changes are you going to make? You won the game.
Yep.
So I like the Cowboys in this situation. The question for me, can Dak avoid the late, costly turnover? And Jerry said, well, turning the ball over isn't in Dak's DNA. It's funny, I went back and looked. Skip, did you know Dak led the league in fumbles and fumbles lost in 2021? And in 2018, he led in fumbles and he finished 1 off the lead in fumbles lost. So clearly, in 7 years, 3 of the years, he almost led the league in turnovers. So that is in his DNA.
And he just led the league in interceptions, tied 4.
Ta-da!
Yep.
So guess what? That is in Dak's DNA. Hopefully not tonight.
Yep.
Hopefully they did a paternity test, and that's not the DNA. Jerry Springer, he's not.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's not. True. So, Skip, I'm going to take the Cowboys. The Cowboys are ranked second in both pass rush, win rate, sack rate, and they finished first in quarterback pressure. They're prime. If they can't get to Tom Brady, you told me this offensive line is beat up. Donovan Smith is questionable. Tristan Wirth is nursing that ankle. You lost your center. If they can't get to it, they have got to disrupt Tom Brady tonight. If you don't disrupt Tom Brady tonight, you're going home.
I hear you. In the end, I agree with you. But give me a minute because I got a whole lot to say about this. Because just me personally, I'm actually stuck with this one because I predicted before the season that my Cowboys would beat the Bucs on opening night at Jerry World and that the Bucs would avenge that defeat in the NFC Championship game. And unfortunately for me, that game has come 2 weeks earlier than I expected that it would. So now I'm stuck between the proverbial rock, my Cowboys, and a very hard place to win a playoff game, which is at Tampa against the one guy in sports I always say I don't bet against.
Okay.
That guy, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., even though he's now 45 years of age. Yet, last night I finally just slapped myself in the face and I said, just sit back and look at the big picture. What's the big picture here? Okay. It's real simple to me. The Cowboys are just... they're much better than the Bucs. I was going to say a little, but they're much better.
Yes.
In every way, shape, and form, they are better than the Buccaneers are or have been all year. The issue becomes for me that the Bucs weirdly have peaked. I don't know what they have to peak with, but however good they are, they're that good right now.
Okay.
Because they had their one moment in the sun against Carolina for all the marbles in a lousy division, and Brady throws for 432, and they look like kind of like a football team that day, and they won a game they absolutely had to win, or we'd be having a different conversation right now. And then Brady insists on playing at Atlanta. At least they took the opening drive and went 70 yards with it, and then he stays in there and I kind of fumble and stumble around. But still, I have to think they feel a little better about themselves than the Cowboys do, because while the Bucs have quote-unquote peaked, the Cowboys have unpeaked.
Yeah.
I don't have any evidence over the last really 5 weeks to say they can go in there and romp and stomp tonight the way I think they should. I told you 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was looking down the track and saying, what if they wind up at Tampa? I was thinking they'd be a 7-point favorite in this game. Well, they're still 2.5, and that should tell you something. The odds makers are still saying they're a better team. And
well, maybe they'll do something good because you don't have any expectations for them.
Well, I don't. So it almost reminds me of the DirecTV commercial about Cowboys and the Housewives. You know, Cowboys, Housewives, Cowboys, Housewives. Well, too often over the last 5 games, the Cowboys have played the way Dak and CD do against the Housewives, which is horrendous, right? They're just falling all over the place and falling out of bounds and falling into the sideline. That's how they have played. Cowboys, Housewives, it's against the Housewives. So, look, in the end, I'm ride or cry with the Dallas Cowboys, and it's been a lot of crying that I've had to do. But it just seems to me that they just should win this game, which would be, as you know, their first road playoff win in inconceivably 30 years. 30 years. Are you kidding me? They're 0 for 8 over the last 30 years. And I was there, front row of the press box, in that game at the end of the 1992 season at San Francisco, and they seemed like hopeless underdogs. They weren't ready to break through. They're too young. But they had added Charles Haley, and you know what happened that day? Aikman hit Alvin Harper at the end of the game for a big breakaway touchdown, and that did it. We beat Steve Young and Jerry Rice. And if you told me, if you slapped me in the face that day and say, would you believe you just witnessed the last playoff game your team is going to win for 30 years, I would have laughed in your face.
Of course, everybody would have.
Well, who wouldn't? Because I thought I was in the middle of a dynasty. And if we had to go on the road and win a game with the dynasty, surely we could go on the road.
I mean, the oldest guy on the team at that point in time, especially the skill player, was probably Michael at 25.
He was. That is exactly right. You know, they should have won like 5 in a row, but you know what happened.
But Skip, to your point, when you say the Cowboys should win, with the exception of maybe quarterback, you have a better offensive line. You can run the ball better. Now, I believe Tampa has better receivers, but you might have the better receiver. Defensively,
okay, I'll buy that.
I think defensively, you're better. You can get after the quarterback better. I think your secondary took a little hit when you lost your corner. But overall, I still think you guys are better. I think you're better in the special teams area. Now, I don't know coaching. I don't know about that.
Well,
I don't know about that.
I can't go there.
So with that being said, I'm going to agree. Okay. With the exception of quarterback, the Cowboys have the better team.
Okay. I'm going to pile on to your point. This is 12-5 versus 8-9. That's where you start. And then to your point, we're number 1 on defense and takeaways. Number 1 in the whole NFL, which makes us number 2 in the all-important telltale stat of turnover differential. We're number 2 to Philadelphia in the whole league.
Yes.
That should play tonight.
Yes.
And we are number 1 in pass rush pressure rate. Number 1 in the whole league. And guess what? Brady's offensive line is 24th in pass block win rate.
Yeah.
Well, don't you like number 1 versus number 24? I just do. All right. The Bucs are dead last in running the football, which has made Tom Brady, would you believe, dead last in play action pass rate. Dead last. He's 15% of the time.
If you can't run the ball, why am I biting on the face?
Why would you do that? why would you stick it in somebody's gut? Because they're laughing at you.
Yeah.
So only 15% of the time has he tried to play fake. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this is huge advantage Dallas. Okay. So then I look at Dak should have all night to throw tonight because the Bucs are graded by Pro Football Focus 28th in pass rush.
Yes.
They're the flip side of us. We haven't lately, but we have the potential to come and unload on you with our pass rush. listen, it's Micah's night. He's talked a good game this week. He's been awfully quiet over the last, 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe. But tonight he rises and shines. And he got Brady twice in that opener. I think he could get him 3 times
Yeah, he needs to get him 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
And you look at Brady. Brady ranks 29th in QBR, 6.7. He's 31st in yards per attempt, 3.3.
Yep.
And he threw the 3rd most interceptions, 6 of his 9, when getting pressure.
All right.
So that's the key, Skip. You got to get him off that mark.
Get him off that mark. I saw a stat. I think it was on ESPN. Was it this morning? I can't remember. I watched so much. But there was a stat about if he throws it in underneath 2.5 seconds, where he just bam gone.
Yeah.
That he's top 10 in stats. But if it's over 2.5, he's bottom. I think he's 25th in overall stats. So it's just a matter of
you got to take away. Skip, you got to take away that first read.
Take away the first read. All right. So the receivers, to that point, they're graded 19th overall by Pro Football Focus. Gronk nor AB is walking through that door. They're
over.
just not.
You got what you got.
Okay, you got the 2 rookie tight ends. You kind of like Cade Otton, but he's just a kid, and Cole Keeft.
Brady, what's the tight end? I think he hurt his knee, so he might be out. Kyle Rudolph.
Oh, Kyle Rudolph. Yeah. He came out of the doghouse the other day, and then it sounds like he's hurt.
Yes.
So what do we have here? We have one saving grace on the other side is Brady. He led the NFL in 4th quarter yards passing and touchdown passes. Why was that? Because oftentimes they were sometimes almost hopelessly behind. So you can say some empty calorie yards, some garbage time yards. But to me, the way you win this game is you have to do it convincingly, because you can't let him have a chance to beat you at the end. So to me,
I agree.
My prediction is my team will be up by 17 going to the 4th quarter, because I think you need to be up 17.
17?
Well, you have to be. You saw what he did to the Saints. They're up 14, and he got them.
So you said you believe your Cowboys have fixed whatever that ails them.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy gonna give him that. He gonna give that fire and brimstone pregame speech.
Listen, they're a really good football team.
Yeah.
We saw it. They went to Minnesota, won 40-3, right? We saw them score 33 points in the 4th quarter against Indy. I can go on. We saw what they did to Philly's defense, even though it was Gardner Minshew on the other side. The point is, you need to be up. I got them up. I'm going to say they're up 27-10, reminiscent of Jacksonville, going to the 4th quarter. 27-10 Dallas, and that they hang in and hang on. 27-17 is my final score. That's how you beat this guy in this game at his house.
Wow.
Okay?
And then I guess they got Tom Brady going to San Fran or Oakland. Oakland, Vegas.
That would seem to be the next move.
I definitely think the Raiders are the team that would be in play, considering his relationship with Josh.
All right. What's your score? I got 27-17 Dallas. You've got the Cowboys, the low-down, stinking Dallas Cowboys.
22-20.
22-20. Yeah. Well, so they're going to have to hang in. The GOAT's going to have a chance to get them in the end.
They're going to be 22-14. And then they go. Yeah.
Okay, remember, 2 years ago on opening Thursday night, they thought they had him, and Dak scored too early. Dak threw for 403, and the GOAT got the ball back, and he goes right down the field and gets a walk-off, and they lose 31-29.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want to see that.
Micah needs to have 3.
He does. This is a Micah
sacks,
night. Yep.
Couple of tackles for losses.
I got it. I agree. Here we go.
Well, guys, this is an interesting twist. The Bucs just activated center Ryan Jensen off injured reserve. He's been on IR all season long with a knee injury.
Has to go.
Be curious to see how much he's able to go tonight. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.